my tolerance for risk is much higher because I've gone through periods of risk. I need to learn to enjoy the victories and the wins, and to allow celebration of success. So when we set up Pantaleon and we saw that movie and we tested the movie, we said, this is going to be the first movie that Pantaleon's going to release. So when you talk about the success of the movie, the question is was it a success? I think it's a good movie. I think it was really entertaining. And I think if we had released the movie 3 years later, the team was new, everything was new. We were learning that we could have been a lot more successful with it.
And it was a very popular movie, but you thought if you guys will release the movie 3 years later, like 2014, you thought that could be a
bigger success.
Yeah.
Or a success. I mean, I think the movie is better than what we were able to do with it as a new company, the first movie.
It was a lot.
And we have people who became more experienced, and so it suffered from being the first movie in that way. But one of the movies, something had to be the first movie, right? And I'm happy it was From Prada to Nada. I'm proud of the movie.
It was really good. Did you remember the red carpet and everything? The whole. Do you guys put it on film festivals, or you just did like
no film festivals? And I'm trying to think if we even had a red carpet release. Yes, we did. We had a red carpet release because I remember speaking about it. We did do one. I think downtown, if I recall correctly.
Who were working already at Pantaleon from the team that I know?
Edward and Jacque. Trying to think who else was there of the people because there are people that were there that left, and obviously lots of new people came in. I don't think there was anybody else other than Edward and Jacque, who were my two top lieutenants.
Wow.
I think, the marketing was overseen by Brenda Rios, who was one of our first employees. Brenda, unfortunately, passed away a few years back. And we had different people doing publicity, and I think again we kind of filled out a much bigger team and to do different types of things that would have really helped the movie at that time.
Okay, what do you think? What was one of the things?
Even just publicity, and getting enough digital marketing. We didn't have anybody working on digital marketing. We relied on advertising spots on Univision, the trailer in the theaters, and we needed to broaden out the marketing platform for it.
Okay. And it's now that you mentioned Edward, it is funny. I believe you told me, and he also told me how he started working with you.
Yeah.
He started working with you as an assistant.
Well, that's all I had. I mean, he was an assistant without money and without and doing more than just. He was a terrible assistant. So thank God he didn't stay in that role. But he was basically came in willing to do whatever he could to help.
Yeah.
Wow. So there you are. Yeah.
So you have surrounded yourself around celebrities, around big producers, directors and executives from big companies. So how do you keep yourself humble? Like, how do you stay grounded?
Well, I think it goes back to, not feeling like, I mean, I ground myself, I mean, I don't, when you read that off, and I don't think it's really that true. So I don't feel that, I met a lot of great people, maybe in the Mexican or in the Hispanic space, I have those relationships, but not really in Hollywood, proper, although I have a lot of relationships in Hollywood. It's, how do I stay humble?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my wife keeps me humble, for sure. Like I recognize my faults. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. I don't think I have a problem with humility.
Okay, that's good.
I mean, it would be interesting to see what people think. I'm sure I have a lot of confidence, but I also.
But confidence is not the same, like,
right?
Because I've seen people, they're not confident, but they, how social media it is right now. They're just looking for selfie with certain people, and they're just scared about the likes and to get like famous in 5 minutes and things like that. And the difference is like they're not building relationships or anything. They just want like.
Yeah. I mean, again, I just like, I've met a lot of stars. I never thought that would happen in my life. I've, producers, and I'm in an industry that people gravitate towards or want to be a part of. But I've never felt like I'm not the same kid, with all the insecurities that I have. So, yeah, it's a good question for me to think of for the next time we chat, because I really don't have a great answer to it.
No, but what you said is amazing. You kept yourself humble. Like you are so critical with yourself.
Yeah.
Like you don't believe like I just met this person, but it's like, and you other side of the rain, maybe it's like, Paul, calm down.
Well, I don't think I've ever been intimidated or super impressed with people because of who they are or what they are. Maybe. So, yeah.
That's good.
I guess.
No, that's really good.
It is what it is.
No, that's really good. And then, okay, same year, and then I don't know, how did you get to know Eugenio Derbez? Because you guys on 2011, you distribute his first project with Pantaleon, No Eres Tú Soy Yo. I remember that one.
Yes.
So how the relationship started?
Well, I mean, he had a relationship with Televisa. I mean, he was a Televisa star, and so he had that relationship, and he had done that movie not actually for Televisa, although I think Televisa ended up distributing it. Eugenio had done that movie, I think, for Warner Brothers at the time, but it was really successful, and so I went and acquired the rights for the U.S. for the movie and decided to release it. Now, when we started Pantaleon, even before, when we were working with Jim McNamara doing these co-productions, Jim had a gentleman working for him, Ben Odell. Mm-hmm. And then Ben came when we started Pantaleon. Ben ran production for Pantaleon for me. And Ben knew Eugenio and had a relationship with him. Mm. I can't remember if he told me about the movie, if Ben told me about the movie, if I read about the movie, or how we found out. I don't recall now, but that was, we went and acquired the movie. And then when we were releasing the movie, I met Eugenio for the first time.
Got it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Instructions Not Included in 2013. I have seen many interviews with Eugenio Derbez about he sharing his experience about the movie, which is wonderful. And also I noticed, obviously, many people pay more attention sometimes in the talent, but I would like to hear the other side, the production side, what was how okay, you start building the relationship, and then they send you the script for this one for the instructions not included.
We were aware of the script. Ben had the script. Televisa, the people at Video Cine, which is Televisa's movie arm, they had the script. The guy who was running Televisa, all of Televisa, the studio at Televisa, he loved the project, loved the script, thought it was amazing, wanted to do it. And we didn't actually produce the movie. I mean, Televisa ended up investing in the movie. The movie was produced by Monica Lozano and Eugenio. And Televisa put in the financing for the movie. So anytime Televisa would be doing a movie, we would get the rights in the U.S. for Pantaleon. So just like we did with Norris Tusorio, we took the finished film and set up a release in the U.S. for that film. It would be a lie if I said, "Oh, I knew it was going to be this great success." Did not know that. I thought the movie was special. When we would test the movie, the scores were, test a movie, you recruit an audience to come see the movie, you test it, you ask them questions about the movie. And when we tested the movie, there were people that were crying. There were people that, it just had an amazing effect on people. Now, one of the things, again, it's not the production side. It's really about the distribution side and the marketing side. So we had this, and at some point, we decided, and I can't remember how this came about, but that we have to spend more money to market a movie. Our model had basically been to rely on Univision and the advertising that Televisa controlled on Univision to market the movie. Not a lot of money was spent outside of Univision. We did publicity, we'd go on the radio a little bit, and we'd do the trailer, and we do, all of these types of things. But we wouldn't buy advertising on Telemundo. We wouldn't buy advertising outdoors on billboards. We wouldn't. And this was the first time where we put a comprehensive campaign together, where, we had outdoor, we had buses going by, we had radio, we advertised on Telemundo, we advertised on Estrella TV. The spend was probably two times as much, double what we would typically spend, or what we had to that point.
According to IMDb, 5 millions. 5.5 millions.
Marketing?
No, like the whole...
The production? What?
Yeah, the whole production.
Well, I don't know what the production was. Yeah. It could be. I'm just talking about the marketing campaign, the P&A, as we say. How much we spent in the marketing. And we spent, again, it was a multiple of what we had spent on earlier movies. And so, again, when you talk about From Prada to Nada, and you talk about, could you be more... I think Instructions Not Included kind of set us on a path of what, from a marketing perspective, what would be successful. And I think for so long, and I think the reason that many other companies who tried to start a studio or reach this Hispanic audience, why they failed. One, again, I think you have to have continuity. I don't think you can just go out and release a movie. I think you had to establish a pattern. You had to establish that what you were and an expectation. But I think there was a tendency of the audience to feel pandered to. If you were trying to reach that audience, if somebody said, you would hit them over the head with a tortilla. And it's, And so I always looked at the Hispanic audience here as being very aspirational and wanting to be part of America. They came to this country. They fought to get to this country. Different than the African Americans who were trying to find, actually trying to identify with each other and raise up, Black power and in their community. The Latino audience was looking to assimilate and acculturate. And so what they didn't want was somebody telling them, this is specifically for you. Mm-hmm. If it was specifically for you, they knew it probably wasn't, that quality. So the notion would be and the message that we would receive when we spoke, when we talked out, was that they wanted Hollywood to reflect who they are and their life, and not pander to their life, but as part of the stories. And so it was the first movie we treated like a Hollywood movie in terms of the marketing. Mm-hmm. Now, we weren't nationwide. We weren't advertising in every city. But if you lived in Hispanic neighborhoods, it would feel like it was as big as a Sony movie or a Warner Brothers movie, because in those communities, we advertised in a big way, which we hadn't done before. And so it was like, oh, wait a second, and I think that led me, again, you start thinking about some of the other successful movies. And even when you get to Pantaya, we knew it just had to feel like you're doing something for this audience that stands up. We're competing for their money with every other film out there, every other TV show out there. And if you can't stand up in terms of storytelling, in terms of marketing and the way something's marketing, it's not going to smell right. And I think that was the lesson, right? Is that, and that was the message also coming back to us. So.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. What was one of the, if you remember, what was one of the marketing strategies that you guys did? I know you say Telemundo and here and there, but.
Yeah, but, so again, outdoor, I think, I believe a lot in outdoor. I think.
What do you mean outdoor? I'm sorry.
Outdoor means billboards, bus stops, anything that when you're outside and you see something about a movie, a poster on a wall, anything that's not on television or whatever, radio. This is outdoor, right? Mm-hmm. Outdoor advertising. And to me, it's super impactful for movies because it becomes ubiquitous in the community. You're seeing it. It's like why we made a deal. I think we did it on Instructions Not Included. It could be. Or maybe we did it on How to Be a Latin Lover. But we went into the Vallarta supermarkets and did sleeves that went on bottles with the picture of the act, so people would go in their communities and they would see.
Yeah.
It felt like a Disney movie or something else within those communities, So it was that type of a thing. But the other thing that I would remark on is, so on Univision, they have their morning program, Despierta America, and like Good Morning America on ABC and whatever else is on the other channels. And the week of the release of the movie, Eugenio hosted the show every day. And nobody's ever done that.
No.
So that was that. Now he could get away with that. Was big, right? We followed that playbook a few other times, but he hosted the morning show always. So
Wow.
they were talking about the movie, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I'm jumping ahead 3 or 4 days, right? In terms of the movie comes out and it's this, I mean, the lines down the block and people wanting to see this movie and the theater chains calling saying, why didn't you book it in this theater in this city? Or why don't we have more prints of the movie, And NPR, National Public Radio, reached out and they wanted to do an interview. And so I did an interview with NPR, I guess on the Monday morning after the weekend. And what they were saying was, well, how did this film with so little publicity or so little publicity, how did it break out like this? And I'm like, that's what somebody who was non-Hispanic would say, because you wouldn't have seen it. But we couldn't have done more publicity on this movie. I mean, he hosted the show every morning. We were in outdoor. He was all over the radio, Spanish language radio. So my point is like, it's just a disconnect that they thought this little movie with no publicity at all had gone on and done this big thing. I mean, it was a huge effort by us. Like, we spent a lot more money than we typically spent, and it paid off. Yeah. And the movie delivered, right? I mean, I remember, after the movie coming out, so, interview with NPR and then the movie continues going, because it was the kind of movie where after you saw it, you want to bring your parents to see or your friends to see, and everybody. And I think people saw it multiple times. I mean, I remember, I don't remember exactly when it was, but like Lionsgate, the guys at Lionsgate would come out and they would say, okay, given the results of this weekend, we think we can hit $15 million total on this thing. Okay, that'd be amazing if we had 15. Then it was raised to 20. Then it was 25. Then it was 30. And, ultimately did $45 million. Became the highest grossing Spanish language movie of all time. So it's a once in a lifetime. It has for me. I mean, we've had other big successes. Another movie with Eugenio that even did a bigger box office. Cost a lot more money to make that movie, a lot more money to market that movie. I mean, Instructions is, it's a unicorn, right?
It is. It was big. I was living in Mexico back then. And I remember people told me, you have to go to watch the movie. You have to. And I watched the movie like the month later, and the theater was full. Yeah. And we were crying. I remember that moment, and we were talking about it. It was like, have you seen the new Eugenio Derbez movie? Because it was something different for Eugenio Derbez in Mexico too. And I think that was kind of the opening for his career here. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
No, I mean that movie changed people's lives. Not just people who watched it. I mean, people who were working on it, whether it's Eugenio moving to the U.S. and becoming a star and his career taking off, whether it's Pantaleon, which goes from this little company, we don't know if it's going to survive, right? Should we shut it down? Should we stay at this? Like, what's really the potential to, okay, now what?
It's the introduction to you guys.
Yeah. And again, you go back to my, my faults and my not being able to celebrate success. I mean, I remember on the Friday afternoon that when the movie launched and we were getting these reports and my team was so happy and they're celebrating. And I'm like, what are you celebrating? We got work to do. We got to, we need to figure out what the plan is for next week. And and when I look back on that now, I'm like, how unfair is that of me to, as a boss, to not allow them to enjoy that moment? Really, really. And it was less about them and it was more about me not wanting to lose my edge. Again, I feel like I'm 60 and I'm just learning about how to be a better boss, how to be a better person. Like, it doesn't stop, right? So try to live without regrets.
No, that's amazing.
But
and then I believe the other movie that you were mentioning about Eugenio Derbez is the one with Anna Faris.
Yeah, Overboard was with Anna Faris, but we did one in between that, which was the one with Salma Hayek, How to Be a Latin Lover.
Ah, yeah, that's true.
Which then became an Apple TV series, Acapulco, which is on Apple now.
Yeah.
So we did that one, and then we did Overboard. But these were big movies for us.
So, okay. So, yeah, that Friday you say what's next. So,
well, it's what's next. I mean, it's really also like we've got a lot of work to do. You know, we need to. You know, it's like, but that was just. You know, that was just. You know, I don't know what you want to call it. It's just a mistake.
No,
you know?
Not a mistake. I think it was like an internal conflict. Like,
well, okay, it's internal conflict, but I present it. It's okay for me to think we're not done yet.
Yeah.
It's another thing for me to tell these people stop celebrating.
Yeah.
We're not done yet.
That's a different thing.
Yeah.
But wow, a lot of movies, a lot of things. But yeah, like I so you never celebrate yourself back then? Like when you were at the red carpets, because there was a lot of red carpets.
Oh, we had fun, but I mean, you know, it's a celebration.
But
I mean,
do you feel like you were in a dream? Like, I can't believe this is happening. Months of working hard to put this project together, and everything is happening. And
yeah, it was satisfying, which is interesting for me to admit that and say that. Yeah, it was satisfying. Because I think there were a lot of people doubting us and trying to kill us.
Wow.
All along, even after that. I mean, it didn't stop. I mean, I feel like we were always battling for the company and their survival, one day to the next.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you would have success, and that would be okay for a little while. And you know, we had enough success. I mean, we had enough success, and I'm very proud of what we did. But you know, I mentioned when I left that again, the thing I'm most proud of is, you know, through this period of time, and you're seeing it still. Wow, we need more Latinos in Hollywood. We need more roles. We need no more writers' room. All of that's true, but until you get Latino executives into the studios and train, you know, it's going to be, because I already see it. I see the mistakes that every studio will make in casting or in a piece of the story. And I'm saying, well, if they really understood our audience, they would have cast this person, not that person. Mm-hmm. You know, cast a Puerto Rican to play a Mexican when everybody knows he's Puerto Rican. Mm-hmm. It could be whatever it is simple things. And the people that grew up with us are moving on to bigger and better things. And I think they'll continue to do that. And I'm proud of that, because we gave a lot of people their first jobs and their start, you know, and that's satisfying for me that there are people, you know, who started at a very junior level who are now in a position to really affect the community.
Yeah. I noticed that when on my first week working here, I started talking to everyone, and I couldn't believe, like, Jacque started as your assistant. Mm-hmm. And she told me her story, and I was like, this is an amazing place. I see why everybody is happy.
Yeah. I mean, happy. I think, again, I grew up in my career with people who supported people doing bigger things and stepping outside and work, you know, not trying to pigeonhole people and this, you're going to do this and just this, you know, and that's how I was able to flourish. And I think everybody has a voice. I mean, the reality really is, and we had some issues at the beginning and had to work through certain issues, but the people working here were the audience, or their cousins were the audience, or their parents, or, you know, depending on the movie. And so far be it from me to tell them what we should be doing. They should be informing us what we should be doing. And so, you know, people got to do what they wanted to do, I think. and people who weren't happy left, not that many people, but there were people that left.
Well,
there's always that. Or it didn't work out, but for the most part, I mean, I think it will end up being, I mean, I hope what we achieved, right, is when people look back at their careers that worked with us, they'll say that was the best time of my career. I mean, I just loved working in this environment, and it's different, right? You go to a Univision, it's more corporate. It is much more siloed, and we gave everybody a big picture of the whole company. There wasn't things that we were doing that the people in publicity didn't know what the people in production, because we only do this or what. It really was a group effort. We had a special team, a special place.
So if you never congratulate yourself, that's an amazing thing to.
Yeah, no, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that. I mean, I said, it's the thing I'm most proud of is kind of what we built from a culture and standpoint, and the experience that we gave people that wouldn't have had a chance to do that in the studio system in Hollywood.
They wouldn't have the opportunity to shine like they did here.
No. No, not in the same way. And if they did, I mean, again, it would be much more within a piece of a group of whatever. And it is what it is. I mean, it's very unusual to have that experience in a startup and have it work.
Yeah. Wow. And then on 2016, Pantaya and Global Entertainment.
Globalgate. Yeah. Well, Globalgate came out of really out of Instructions Not Included as well. I mean, when we came out with Instructions Not Included in 2013, end of 2013, we were quickly approached by several international film companies wanting to remake the movie in their language. So the French were like the first ones in. We want to make a French movie, and we knew the Brazilians wanted to make a movie. And what it quickly said to me was, we need to look at international films that we could acquire remakes rights for and adapt them. Because really, what Instructions Not Included was a great story. It didn't matter. It was in Spanish.
It was all right.
It didn't matter at all. It was a universal story, a father and his daughter, and how that all played out. And so it could be adapted. And so we needed to find things that we can adapt. And we quickly started looking at all these international films. And I partnered, well, first, I mean, I remember it was kind of towards the end of that year. Maybe it was the next year. Might have put a year in between this, but, with my partners in Globalgate, William Pfeiffer, who was my partner in Tigergate, and then Clifford Werber, who I had known for a while, who was all into local language films and had set up remakes and such. And we came up with this idea of putting together an international consortium to share intellectual property rights. And for me, it was really two things. It was one, to great IP for Pantaleon to come in that we can remake, like No Manches Frida, which was a remake of a German movie. Mm-hmm. And the last two movies we did were remakes of Korean movies. And also to take the IP we were doing and Televisa was doing and bring it to do international movies as well. So that's how Globalgate got started, and Lionsgate came in as a partner in that, as did Televisa, because again, I saw the utility of having Globalgate.
Wow.
Pantaya we had been talking for a little while about we should start our own streaming service, but it was really, really challenging. I mean, challenging is not the right word. It's always, everything's challenging. There were a lot of impediments. I mean, Televisa had its business with Univision and couldn't go do things in the US in video on demand and television. They were tied to Univision. And Pantaleon was a joint venture. So what initially happened is we had a Netflix deal where we were selling our movies to Netflix. And the Netflix deal expired, and Netflix wanted to pay us half of what they were paying us, which wasn't really enough to sustain the business. And so we said no. And we shopped for another deal. We talked to HBO, we talked to Showtime. There weren't very many streaming services at the time, just Netflix. And we talked to Stars. This was before Lionsgate even had bought Stars. We were trying to find a home for these movies to pay us. And we were getting close, like, it's, it was kind of like, yeah, we want to get that audience, but they didn't think they had a critical mass of it or such. But I think that deal must have expired in 2015, something like that, maybe. And we were getting a bunch of movies from Televisa, not all that we were releasing in theaters, but we were gathering this library of movies. And eventually we were like, well, let's just start our own. And we had to work through the Televisa. That's why Televisa wasn't a partner in Pantaya, because they couldn't be. And we made a deal with Univision, a commercial deal with Univision that ultimately didn't pan out either, because Univision had different aspirations. And we launched Pantaya in 2017 with Stars and Lionsgate, and we had brought Hemisphere Media Group, which Jim McNamara was a part of. We brought them in as a partner because they had a library also of movies. And that's how Pantaya started. And, Pantaya starts in 2017. And thank God we started Pantaya, because when the pandemic hits, if we don't have Pantaya, we're out of business. Yeah. Pantaleon's not going to survive. I don't know if the theatrical market will ever recover for the types of movies that Pantaleon did in the same way as we were able to exploit prior to the pandemic. We'll see. We have a couple of big movies that we did before we sold the company, and we'll see how those will do in the near future. But again, thank goodness we started Pantaya and that it was successful. And it was successful, I think, because we had a team that understood how to market to this audience, how to motivate this audience to spend money to get up off their couch and buy a movie ticket. Well, you can now sit on your couch and buy this. And so we really understood from a marketing perspective and from a content perspective what this audience, from a premium perspective, what they wanted. And the company kind of took off when we were able to kind of merge Pantaleon and Pantaya together and have the people that had all this knowledge be working on Pantaya. It's hard. It's a slog. It's a hard business. And there aren't very many small players, it's the big players. And, I feel fortunate that we were, again, first to market with it and did it, that people loved the product. Yeah.
I can confirm that.
Yeah.
I moved here in 2015.
Yeah.
And when I moved here, I was a full-time student and I was working like almost 3 hours per week. So I didn't have the time to get to know LA, and I didn't have the time to go to the movies because I was, But when someone told me about Pantaya, I was like, what is that? My friend was like, it's everything in Spanish, everything that we cannot watch anymore because we don't live in Tijuana. I was like, I have to get it. And I got it. Yeah. So
it's, It was again. I think we did it at the right time. I think we exited it at the right time in terms of being independent, like Pantaya, and not part of something like Univision, because it's very cash intensive business.
How long was the process of developing the Pantaya and testing the app and everything?
From basically getting, I'm gonna have to go back and look at emails and presentations and everything, but I would say, that we probably hatched the idea in 2016, late 2016, where we got a confirmation, let's move forward. And we launched in October of 2017. So like a year. And there was a lot of deals that had to be put in place in order to do it. And that took a lot of time. So yeah, there's just a bunch of different hoops we had to jump through. Given the Televisa Lionsgate relationship, Univision, it was complicated.
Yeah.
But
you guys made it.
We made it through. So
what movie can you say, or TV show, what was the one, or do you have a favorite one, a favorite project, or you don't want to share that?
No, I'm trying to think. Do I have a favorite project in my, of Pantaleon and Pantaya?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this movie that we're going to release, the musical that we're going to release, I'm very excited about it, and I think it was really ambitious, and I'm hopeful that it will be something that the audience hasn't seen but wants to see.
Oh, I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like Usurpadora the Musical. Have you seen it?
I watched the telenovela, but Aaron showed me one of the scenes, and I fell in love with and I'm not a big fan of musicals, but that one I was like, wow.
Well, that was the idea, is to make people go, wow. that people would be like, what is this? I mean, when I my friend Matt, who produced the movie with me, for me, came to me with the idea, I was like, that's something special. I mean, again, really ambitious, expensive for the kinds of things we do. And it's either going to be amazing or it's going to be, I don't know, but I'm really proud of it. And I feel if movies were working in the same way they were before COVID, I'd be really confident. I'd be like, we're going to hit it out of the park. I know how to market this, and it's a different animal right now out there. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows, other than Marvel and, big animated movie, but even some of those aren't working anymore. Like, what's going to work and what's not going to work.
Yeah.
And so it remains to be seen, but I'm very excited about that and proud of it. I would say that there are other movies that I and TV shows that again, I'm not the audience. And I fully recognize it. What I can tell you is, it's interesting because I really think about it in kind of like, I don't try to get too involved in this, the minutia of a script or whatever, or what choices are being made, other than the kind of macro type things.
Yeah, but you trust in your team, because you get someone reach out to you, and then what happened? You send them to Mario or Aaron?
Sometimes, or I bring in Mario or Aaron to validate what I'm thinking. But it's really interesting. I mean, it's almost like, it's more like a puzzle for me as I think about it. Like, I don't think about it, you said, making art or whatever. To me, it's less about art. It's more of a puzzle. And I know if I have this piece, this actor, I know I'm going to get this audience. And I know if I have this music, I'm going to be able to go from the Mexican-American audience, and it's also going to work in Florida. And so for me, it's more of a puzzle and putting the puzzle pieces together and understanding what has worked in the past and what we did wrong or what we learned from what we did, and then building upon that. And so for me, it's more of an exercise, a puzzle that's exciting for me to get my hands dirty with than it is, I mean, anything else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's a building block. Everything is a building block to what the next thing you should do. And let's take some risks too, right? But that's how I think about it. I don't think about it in this great creative way and that I know story better than people, or I know which director we should use, or and sometimes we pick the wrong director on a project. I mean, it happens.
Oh.
But again, I'm not making those choices. So for me, it's like, that's what I kind of know what's not going to work too. I do know what's not going to work. So you like put these pieces together and kind of go from there.
Okay. Yeah. And I see when Matt told you about the idea of the telenovela to a musical, I don't know you, but seeing your personality, you are like, let's do this. Let's see the new challenge. And
yeah. I thought it was super ambitious, and I thought I had been really thinking music needed to be a big part of. I mean, we had some ideas for other musical ideas, but this was, I think, the right chord at the right time.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Is it still in?
It's finished. We're hopefully going to be in a couple of festivals the first part of the year, and the movie should come out in April.
Oh, awesome. Can't wait to watch.
Todo aquel que piense que la vida es desigual tiene que saber que no es así, que la vida es una hermosura.
I don't want to leave.
Stay, baby.
I can't. I'm married, remember? Well, at least someone could take my place. Come on, we're supposed to be working. 5 minutes max. We're gonna get caught.
She kind of looks like you, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does. Bueno, perfecto. Quedas contratada. ¿Para qué, perdón? Lo que necesito es que tú vayas a México y te hagas pasar por mí. No. ¿Quieres ganar 20 veces más de lo que ganas en un año? Uy. Darling. Necesito que hagas que esta cosa se parezca más a mí.
Zapatos de tacón se mueven como programados para coquetear. Con zapatos de tacón se mueven y sus movimientos nos hacen babear.
Depílenla toda. ¿Toda? No voy. Abuelita, ay, mijita,
Te ves tan diferente como actriz de telenovela.
what are you doing? This was so stupid. This was never going to work out.
¿Ya de plano hablando solo en inglés?
Bienvenida.
Bienvenida, señora. ¿Quieres cenar con nosotros, Lupita?
¿Qué te hicieron?
¿Qué te pasa, pa?
Es que
Mi corazón se enloquece y me empieza a palpitar. Biri bombo.
Ay, mi amor. Qué pendejos son los hombres.
Desde que tú llegaste, todo cambió. Mi papá está feliz.
te ves espectacular.
Tú también. Pero yo no te contraté para que estuvieras codeándote con la servidumbre y con los niños. Esto no es un juego. Y si te cachan, ay, vaya.
No hay que llorar, que la vida es un carnaval.
se quejan tanto. Para aquellos que no se arriesgan. Para aquellos que nos maltratan. Para aquellos que no viven la vida.
Mi corazón se enloquece y me empieza a palpitar.
And what are some of the challenges of being a boss and leading a company?
I mean, it's a challenge every day. It's a broad question. You know, I mean, for me, the most difficult thing was not being a boss, not having the people that were working for me. It was the external. It was Televisa or Lionsgate or the conflict, which are natural because they have their own interests in mind. Or it was this person who's doing that, you know, or somebody's trying to, you know, steal an actor from us. And typically the biggest challenges were external, not internal. And,
maybe as a leader of the company, like you have to, what you're saying, someone was trying to steal an actor, so you have to offer a better deal to that person, or
yeah, or you know, I mean, that's an example. I mean, I wasn't even thinking of anything specifically, but it was the business itself that was the challenge. Being a boss was not a challenge. I mean, I don't like firing people. I didn't have to do it very often. I didn't like having to deal with HR problems. I mean, but honestly, on a kind of like being a boss, I mean, there were people that wanted more, to do more responsibility, people wanting to this, and this now, you know, and that was, I wouldn't say it was a challenge. It was more of a nuisance. That sounds really casual, right? But I was the same way when I was young, or when I was starting out. I wanted to be the king of the world, you know, and I thought I deserved to get promoted every year, and that it was just a natural progression of being at a company, and what you learn, what I learn is like, that's not, you know, you have to earn your stripes, you know, and if you're given opportunity, then you have to earn it, you know, and so again, you've got a lot of people who you know, who were an assistant here, who went on to bigger and better things and will continue to, and that's the way, you know, it should be. And even then it was, I'm sure, hard for them to, you know, move out from, you know, because I probably just like, not yet. But I think it worked out. But honestly, I didn't find a challenge being a boss. I find the challenge of keeping something alive, keeping it going. And so, like I said, it's more of a nuisance. Like, really, is my life not hard enough? Somebody coming in thinking they should get more money, and maybe they should. And I'm just trying, I mean, can you imagine this person's asking for more money now and for a promotion right now when we're in this battle for our existence? Like, and it was always, you need to wait until next year. You need to wait till this is, and then there was something else.
Yeah.
And it happened with me, happens with everybody. It's like there was never a moment where we felt settled. Like, okay, I mean, people did get promotions and raises, and we did fight for people to get those things, but there was always difficulty in in what the company was going through. So I guess that was probably the biggest challenge, is try to, balance what your executives, what the people who work for you need, and how they can feel like they're growing, and yet, trying to make sure that the company's going to be there. That was the thing that we were focused on. It's like, okay, well, if this, if we can't get this done, we're out of biz. They're not going to keep funding this thing. We need to figure out what we're doing, and I think it's probably part of the movie business in itself. There are a lot more disappointments than successes. And maybe that's me personally as well. But there are a lot of movies where I was depressed on Friday night, like it didn't work. And there's some shows on Pantaya where you were so sure it was going to work, and like, oh my God, why didn't it work? I was so sure this was going to work.
And what happened with yourself? Like, did you blame yourself, or you went back like, okay, this didn't work. What are we going to do for the next one? Well,
yeah, you try to do a post-mortem, right? Try to do an autopsy of like, why didn't this work? And what did we do wrong? And all that. But you're on to the next thing a little bit. And I feel like it's, I don't know if there's ever really good answers. Timing, something you didn't do with the marketing that you should have done.
And in that moment, for example, we don't have to mention any show or any movie, but you were like, we didn't get the numbers that we were expecting. You were afraid, like, oh my God, this producer doesn't want to, or we're not going to get more money to do the next project,
yeah, all the time,
because we are failing between parentheses. I mean, not parentheses.
Quotes.
Yeah, thank you.
In quotes. All the time. But I think producers ultimately realize, we were somewhat fortunate as being the only game in town for certain of these things. So, we were able to do well with certain things and not well with other things, and still try to keep your, you feel like you let people down. Sometimes it's not going to work, and you're still
going for the right.
And you still, you have an obligation to do the best you can, and no producer ever thinks their movie's going to fail, where, not everything works. I don't know what the percentages are. It'd be interesting to go back and look at how many films were profitable and or it's not even about profitability of the film itself. It's how many films did we hit our number? We went in with our green light, right? Expecting this was the base case box office we thought we were going to get. How many times we got it, and how many times we didn't get it. And what I'll tell you is probably more that we didn't, but enough. And when they did work, they weren't big enough. Didn't matter. It mattered for that producer and that project and whatever. But, plenty of projects that didn't work out as well in the theaters worked really well on Pantaya. So Pantaya was helped it along. I will say that the theatrical movies, the films we released in the theaters, did better on Pantaya than films that aren't released. But there are movies that, Instructions Not Included on Pantaya was not a huge success. Now, it had been seen on Netflix, it had been seen, whatever, and so newer movies have done much better than that.
Yeah.
But it's hard to predict, and you just keep going it. You got to keep going at it.
Yeah. In 2019, it was nice. I watched a YouTube video of you guys where Pantaleon gets Impact Award for Outstanding Production of Latino Team Content. you received the award and you called yourself the accidental CEO. That was funny. Interesting, but you also...
Well, I said, I mean, it's like, again, why am I... People wonder, how did you get into this? Or why did you... And like I said, the original notion was I wasn't going to run it. Mm-hmm. We'd have a Latino run it, somebody from Mexico or something. I think I was well suited to run it. I feel like I had a lot of experience internationally that set me up to be successful. And I believe, somewhat controversially, I think, that if I was Mexican, we would have had a harder time of success. I think a lot of filmmakers, they want to work in Hollywood. They come up here because they want to work here. Mm-hmm. And me being from this community and being American and not speaking Spanish, I understand Spanish, a lot of it. I think actually ended up benefiting us in the and so it was always really, really important to me to make sure that everybody working for me, and we have people who are not Latino who are working for us, but again, I think that they're probably helping some of the younger Latinos understand the business. But it was really important to me to give those opportunities to those people. And so I mean, I can't tell you, it would be impossible to count how many times people were saying, how did you get into this? Why are you, how'd that happen? So yeah, it was an accident.
No, but an accident that also you guys support you mentioned that on that video, you guys create the USC Pantaleon Scholarship.
Yeah.
And did more things for Latinos community. So I think that's awesome.
Well, I feel like that's an important part of why we're here and what we were trying to do. And honestly, there were certain things out of altruism, like we should set up a scholarship. But it was also, if you look at the USC thing, is like, we don't have voices for our audience, and we need to seed the creative community with people. And so to put those scholarships together is hopefully a way, and a lot of people came and interned for us and have gone on to other things, but it's a way of building it from the roots,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think it was great to do that for the community, but it was also something important for Pantaleon if we were going to have a big future, to make sure that we're writers and there were young directors and people who had a voice and people had something to say, and can take it on. I mean, it's still my biggest regret, or if I and I don't know if I would have been the right person to do this, but when you look at the various, we talked about the various Hispanic audiences, and the one audience where I don't think we did enough for was the American-born Latino. I mean, we did in terms of executives, but most of the content was coming out of Mexico. Most of the filmmakers, the writers, the directors are all coming out of Mexico. The actors out of Mexico, or internationally, and we didn't do enough here. And really, it's a function of how our market was set up as being, as I told you at the beginning, well, it has to work in Mexico. Like, just like the Bollywood movies, they needed to work in India first. Like, it needs to work in Mexico. So if it doesn't work in Mexico, we're never going to make it big enough in the U.S. because the marketing costs are so expensive, or to make movies here are so expensive. We'll never be able to do it unless you're really going for it in a big way. I mean, like we did with Eugenio, right? But then again, it took and those movies were huge in Mexico. Mm-hmm. So really hard, there are many examples of movies that are really big with the Latinos Hispanic population in the U.S. that did no business in Mexico. Okay. And, like the George Lopez movie, no business in Mexico. They released it. Cesar Chavez, no business in Mexico. So we did movies that did no business in Mexico. We couldn't make money on it. Here. What's that?
Cesar Chavez was huge.
It wasn't that huge. It was a disappointment for us. But again, we released it big. We tried to make it big. But so my one regret is to not have made movies with American, the American Hispanic audience for the American Hispanic audience, because of the structural limitations of the company that we were half owned by Televisa.
Yeah.
Univision, making movies for a certain subset of that audience. And we could never, I would go to, you say, well, we did this, we set up this scholarship, we did this. Like, I would go into the community and talk about it, other than being able to offer people jobs, right? And have them, again, lift people up that way. We never really made content that worked in a big way for that audience.
I see
for that
point.
Part of the audience.
Yeah. Okay. I see your point. Maybe it could be the next step. You never know.
I don't know.
You say you're 16, you're not ready to stop.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't think it'll be that. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know yet. I'm taking my time.
Yeah. There's no rush.
Right. Right. What keeps me going?
How did you cope with rejection?
My wife inspires me. She's a much better person than I am. I say this all the time. If I had to live my life worrying what people think about me, I would be miserable. I would be miserable because, and I like that. I like surrounding myself with protectors because I can be very, and again, go back to childhood, right? I could be very difficult. I realize it. So I think a big part of, I don't think you can control it, but a big part of is understanding where it's coming from.